and welcome to ILTV's Elections Arena. I'm Aaron Porras, and today in the ring, Iranian General and Quds Force Commander Qasem Soleimani is assassinated while the Knesset parties in Israel shift policy in efforts to gain seats at the coming ballots. Joining us to discuss is Israeli anchor and journalist Lital Shemesh and columnist for Newsweek and the editor of HistoryCentral.com, Mark Schulman. Thank you both so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having us.
So let's get right to it. To begin, hundreds of thousands are mourning across the Middle East right now in Iran over the killing of IRGC leader Qasem Soleimani. Soleimani was killed in a U.S.-ordered drone strike following the death of an American contractor and an attack on the United States Embassy in Baghdad. And the White House alleges that he was planning other imminent attacks. But Iranian officials are vowing retaliations against the United States and American allies like Israel.
دشمنانمان هم میگوییم انتقام میگیریم، اما اگر حرکت دیگری انجام دهند آنجا را که دوست دارند و به آن عشق می‌ورزند به آتش می‌کشیم. و خود آنها می‌دانند آنجاها کجاست.
All right, so first and foremost, I'd actually like to start with you, Mark. Was this the right thing to do at this time? Was there maybe another way to go, another action that the U.S. should have taken? Take it away.
Look, there were a whole list of actions the U.S. could have taken. President Trump decided on this action. I don't think it was the wrong action in the sense that it sent the strongest message that said that we are the United States, you are Iran, do you want to start with us? Look what we can do. None of you is safe if we go into some sort of conflict. On the other hand, it's not at all clear to me that the proper decision-making took place to say, okay, what's the secondary and tertiary results going to be as a result of doing this? Now, the decision was taken, President Trump decided to do this, and like I said, the world is a much better place without this man. Israel is it's a safer place, at least long-term, without this man. However, what the immediate impact is going to be, who knows? And that would be my great concern, that I don't know, it was a great tactical move. Is there a strategy? I have no idea, and neither does anyone else really.
I couldn't agree more on the fact that it was the right decision to take down Soleimani, both for the U.S. and for Israel. I think President Trump is trying to show the other side and to show to the world that America cannot negotiate and fight Iran both at the same time, which Obama tried to do when he was in power. So Trump is drawing down the line, saying to Iran, you have to stop expanding all of your terror points throughout the world. You have to stop expanding to Iraq, Yemen, Syria, and is drawing down the line. Regarding the consequences, I think Iran is in a very, very dangerous situation at the moment. They have riots, they have social protests against the economy situation in Iran. So for Iran to start a war at this point, it is going to be very risky because they are trying to tell Europe, we need your support, we need you to lift down the sanctions. And only when you will lift down the sanctions, we will stop our activities.
So I want to maybe address Trump's decision-making process, his train of thought, so to speak, because he's getting a lot of pushback, especially from the left and the Democrats in the United States. I mean, can you speak a little bit to that? Like, do you think that he's acting rash or irrationally? Is he jumping into the fire without forethought? Maybe you can analyze a little bit of the last few actions.
No, actually, I think it was a very courageous, right, justice step to take down Soleimani. He was, if you're asking me, it's the elimination of the century regarding Trump.
Look, I think even a stop clock can be right twice a day, and very much it was the right decision, but there was no process. I mean, I've never heard of a president in all of my studies of all of American presidents that makes decisions without process, without hearing from various people, without hearing what are the results going to be, what's going to happen as a result of it.
What makes you think that he wasn't?
They came down, supposedly they came down for one meeting, presented him with two options.
Why made you say that? I mean, were you in the White House while Donald Trump was taking decisions?
It wasn't in the White House. It was in Florida in his vacation resort.
Yeah, but they were planning it for a while. I think the U.S. I actually think the U.S. did a very smart deceptive way of handling the fact that I just want to finish my sentence. Whilst the Iranian bombed the Saudi and the U.S. decided to stay out of it, they sent a message to the Iranians: we're not interfering, we're not dealing with everything that's happening there. And in a way, they made the Iranians think that they are not going to interfere, then they hit Soleimani.
In reality, Trump actually had a red line, and his red line was the death of an American. That's how this whole thing took place. Trump made it very clear that he doesn't care what happens as long as an American doesn't get killed. American got killed, and so he said, okay, we're going to take action, and that's when he destroyed the camps of the Shiite Iranian-sponsored militia. That was the first step in this whole thing.
But you have to understand, it's not just a matter of an American got killed. It's a matter of Iran enriching uranium, Iran reaching a nuclear deal.
That is all true, but that's not what
But when you compare Iran to other nuclear countries, such as Pakistan,
such as North Korea,
they have a specific issue that they're dealing with. For example, Pakistan has an issue with India, but Iran is simply trying to expand and to send its arms with terror to the entire world. So it's not just a matter of killing an American.
So for comparison's sake, do you think Obama would have reacted in the same way?
No, clearly not. He clearly decided not to do this. As far as I understand, he and the president before him stopped us from doing it. We had considered doing it a number of times, and we were stopped by them, and they didn't do it.
Of killing Soleimani.
Because the result would be what we don't know yet. But the unknown results, no one wanted this great unknown. I mean, usually people make decisions usually knowing what the results are going to be, or at least having a pretty good idea. Right now, we have no idea what the results are going to be.
And I can tell you more than that. In 2004, when Israel decided to take down Sheikh Ahmad Yassin, everyone thought we're going to open up a war now with Hamas. Hamas is going to strike Israel. But the matter of fact, the exact opposite happened, and Hamas took down their flames and understood that Israel is threatening down the lines and telling them, you have to stop shooting at our people. And nothing happened when we took down Sheikh Ahmad Yassin. And in general, it's shown that it's very successful, the pinpointing the heads of terror organizations.
All right, so is this a good idea then? I mean, speaking of Israel's red lines, how does Israel fall into all of the situation? Because right now, the Security Cabinet is saying that the risk to Israel is actually quite low, but they're saying that the risk is quite low, but at the same time, the risk is there.
Look, Iran had enough reasons to attack us in the last 6 months in any case. The fact that we were attacking their forces in Syria and saying they have to be out of Syria, if they could, they would have attacked us by now. They've tried a couple of times. We've stopped them each time they've tried to do it. I assume we'll do our best to stop them again. The odds are pretty high that we'll be able to stop them. The fact is that we could be a target. We don't know. Again, anyone who says that they know how the Iranians are going to react right now, doesn't.
Yeah, I actually agree. And Israel also tried to send out a message of business as usual. The Hermon site was open as usual right after the taking down of Soleimani. And as I said, the first interest at the moment of Iran is to take down the flames within Iran, within the Iranian people, the protests, the economy situation, and to get European government on their side regarding the nuclear deal. So I would think it would be a great mistake for them to start a war or to attack Israel, which means you're attacking Israel, you're getting the U.S. also on your back.
What do you make of Soleimani's replacement, General Ghani? Do we know enough about him to say whether or not he'll be able to fill Soleimani's shoes?
We've learned throughout history that the moment you're taking down someone, he always has a replacement. He always have a second runner-up. The organization and the regime will continue, as usual. But it's more of alarming those terror entities and saying to them, we're getting you, don't threaten us, we're the stronger player on the field.
I mean, when Israel has made decisions in terms of targeted killings, which we've been doing since the 60s in terms of the scientists in Egypt, the German scientists, there's always a sense that there's some that work, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes someone's replaced by someone else and it makes no difference. And sometimes the capability of that particular person is so great that by removing him from the scene, it really hurts the organization. The general sense is Suleiman was one of a kind in the sense that he was particularly talented, particularly good at what he did. his replacement may be okay. In other words, remember, it's more of a bureaucracy. It's not like a terrorist organization. It's a government with various people, and it didn't take them very long to appoint someone to succeed him. He is probably not going to be as capable as Suleiman was, but he has a whole organization behind him, so there'll be differences, but it won't be that great.
But also the anti-Iranian demonstration throughout Iran shows you the popularity of the regime.
Well, so let's look now at some of Trump's more political kind of attacks against Iran in the last week, including he says that he wants to increase sanctions to levels that we've never seen before, and now he's also apparently revoking or killing the visa for Javad Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran, from entering the United States ahead of his meetings at the United Nations. Is that going too far? Is that maybe a little bit petty?
I don't think that makes a difference. I mean, letting Zarif in is really a question of the United States' relation with the United Nations. The United States, when it hosted the United Nations, has certain responsibilities. Whether it's violating it or not, I'm not enough of an expert to say. Look, some of his tweets in the last 24 hours were a little bit beyond what's acceptable and what he actually said. He doubled down on it with saying we're going to hit Iranian cultural targets. I mean, the
Pentagon already kind of...
Well, the Pentagon, but he once again said we're going to do it. I mean, it's like, last night when you were listening to the reports from the story about the letter that was sent that America was moving out of Iraq, and then the Pentagon walking back and we're not moving out of Iraq, it's like, who's on first? It wasn't clear what is going on at the moment, and I think there's a great deal of confusion because very much there isn't a process in place. That is the problem. It's been the problem in all of the Trump presidency is there is not a process to make decisions. The decision is made, it's given to the right people. You like results, I understand that, but I'm telling you, I'm a person who studies presidency.
I have to disagree. I mean, if I can use one emoji to describe what I'm feeling when I'm reading Donald Trump's tweet, it would be the in love emoji with the hearts on the eyes. Every time he's tweeting to Iran, saying to them, don't mess with us, we're gonna get you. I mean, sometimes he speaks in a childish way, but we live in an era where the real war is war on consciousness, on how you're sending messages, how you reaffirming
I have to say, as a lifetime
And-
scholar of American presidency,
And again-
I cringe every time Donald Trump tweets.
And again, I have to say just one sentence for
Final comment. We have to move on.
for the people of Israel. As you said, it's all about results. All of his promises to the people of Israel, he made each single one of them, and we couldn't, thank him enough for all of that.
Well, so we have smiley emojis and heart emojis, and we have
Cringes.
But moving on to our second topic today, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has now officially named his replacements for his 3 remaining ministry portfolios that he's been forced to resign from following indictments on criminal charges. And at the same time, Netanyahu has requested immunity, but it may already be at risk as rival party Blue and White is pushing for quicker deliberations. The faction headed by Benny Gantz says that it has gathered at least 65 MKs, all in support of immediately establishing a committee in the Knesset to rule on the Prime Minister's immunity. So, my first question is, how does this work exactly? Can the Knesset, ahead of March elections, actually form this committee and reject immunity or approve it?
I mean, legally they can. The reality is, look, we're in such gray area. We're in a transitional government after a government fell to another transitional government. We've never been anywhere near this. And the same thing happens to the Knesset. But the reality is he presented a request of immunity from this Knesset, from this parliament. So the Likud is trying to say, well, this parliament doesn't exist anymore, but this is the parliament that he requested the immunity from. So the reality is once 65 members of Knesset request it, they can go ahead and do it. The Speaker of the Parliament, Yudi Ellison, is trying to stop it, but Blue and White, and together with Lieberman, are threatening that they'll replace him, which they can easily do, to create a new speaker. They will then have the committee meet. And at the moment, there's 65 votes not to grant Netanyahu immunity. I mean, look, we're in this absurd situation. A prime minister under indictment. He appointed a minister who's about to be indicted, who's already, the police have already given the report, and the Attorney General has looked at it, and they're about to indict a member of Knesset Bitan on a whole bunch of different charges. We have a Minister of Health who just became the minister, who's the deputy minister, who's also about to be indicted. I mean, in any normal place, every one of these people would resign. Wouldn't be in public life for the moment. But
he doesn't deserve a fair trial. What do you mean?
Who doesn't deserve a fair trial?
Netanyahu.
I felt it wasn't talking Netanyahu. Yes, he deserves a fair trial after he should.
Well, so this is. I mean, this whole immunity law in the first place is kind of was based off the French law. It was being called for a long time.
No, not the French law.
Based off,
no, the immunity was designed for parliamentary immunity. Parliamentary immunity is designed for the purposes of we're having a fight with two of us in the parliament. We're saying things, we're attacking each other, we're saying things that would normally be considered libel, for instance. You can't be charged with libel for things you say in the Knesset. You have immunity. You can't be charged for trespassing. Let's say I'm going to investigate something and I trespass. I'm investigating as a member of Knesset.
I think first of all, Netanyahu's goal supposed to be achieving 61 mandates and achieving a government, forming
to get immunity.
Yeah,
to get immunity so he doesn't get charged.
To get to a situation where he can even get immunity. But I think that the pure system of getting immunity is to save the democratic procedure of not allowing where you feel like there is a corrupted court system.
Okay, but no one. Okay, except for the Likud in the last 6
months. To make the people choose their own prime minister and not to get the court system to decide.
This is pure propaganda.
I just want to finish my sentence. In the past few months, the people of Israel seen how Shai Nitzan is acting in very tricky ways, persuading witnesses.
The state prosecutor.
The state prosecutor persuading, getting things out of state testimonies in a very, very fishy way. So the people of Israel feel that they need to choose.
Unfortunately, it's the way it's been done for the last 40 years.
So
Prime Minister Netanyahu
that is not
Prime Minister Netanyahu doesn't necessarily mean it's right. Even Rivlin has said that this has been used politically in the past.
It's been used a few times politically. Look at what's going on here, though. Think about it realistically. Prime Minister Netanyahu has been Prime Minister for more than 10 years. He had many chances to change the justice system if that's what he wanted. He appointed the head of the police, who he then went ahead and said the police are corrupt and are against him. He appointed the Attorney General, Mendelblit, who was a close confidant of his, had been his secretary. Now they're all claiming that he's corrupt. The reality is here that we've spent the last 6 months or more than that undermining the system of justice that exists in this country. Believe me, I don't believe it's perfect. I mean, there are various changes that need to be made, but not in this particular case. The reality is that everybody who was thought that Netanyahu is guilty has been people that he's appointed. They're not left-wingers, they're not people from Meretz, they're people he's appointed from the traditional right wing.
So how can you explain the fact that Netanyahu is not losing power?
Because people in this country who support him will not leave him under any circumstances.
You don't feel that they feel that
because
he's
they've
maybe
been
not guilty as the court
They've been
sees
told
something?
that. They've been listening to Yisrael Hayom, listening to your television network. They only hear one side of the story constantly on a reality basis.
So maybe we need to change the people.
No, I didn't say the people. I said the news that they're receiving.
The people don't know what's good for them.
I said the news they're receiving. I didn't say anything about the people. I said the news they're receiving.
Oh, the news.
We live in a world that's not only here, it's in the whole world, because it's also a question of social media. We only hear the news that we're comfortable with. We read posts from friends who believe in the same things we believe in. We belong to Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, all these different groups.
Create
YouTube
echo chambers.
We create total echo chambers. So we don't have what we used to be in the United States, for instance, a generation ago, where the whole country would sit down and listen to Walter Cronkite or one of the other news broadcasters from one of the three networks.
Or maybe someone is voting because they support Netanyahu ideology.
But plenty of people have their ideology. They could easily have replaced Netanyahu with somebody else after he's been in power for so many years.
But
the reality is it's not the ideology. Well, because it's not the ideology. It's
the world doesn't work in how you see it. Though it's a democratic place, the same as the Likud is a democratic party, and they are allowed to go and vote for who they want to be
they're allowed to do
their leader.
They're allowed to do whatever they want to do. However, the person has been charged. He's requested parliamentary immunity from a parliament that he does not have a majority in. He will lose that vote because he does not have the majority, because he lost the last 2 elections. He's trying desperately to win the 3rd election to somehow get to 61 votes, which seems hard to see how he's going to do it, but he might do it. But that's what he wants. He wants 61 votes, so he has immunity, so he never has to go to trial until he's 95 years old. And then at that point, we'll say, well, he's kind of old. Why should we try him at this point?
All right, well, we're going to move on from Netanyahu for a little bit. I know we can talk about this for a very long time, but we are going to move on.
As anyone in Israel, obviously.
Exactly. But we're going to change topics just a little bit. In a further bid to pull voters actually away from the right and from the Likud, Blue and White has now decided to shift its policies to the right. According to Israeli media, the Blue and White faction will no longer consider forming a government that includes the support of the Joint Arab List, while keeping on the table possible Jordan Valley annexations, all in response to new voter research. So, Lital, is this going to work? Is this going to actually draw people from the right more towards Blue and White, which is considered a center-left, center-right even party?
Yeah, I think in general, people who are voting for Blue and White are people who are very anti-Bibi, people who don't want Bibi in power. Are voting for Blue and White because it's a kind of a mishmash party
Sure.
with different people from different parties who got together, both left and right. They don't really have a form ideology either than we want to replace Benjamin Netanyahu. So people who are voting them, so I don't think it really matters whether they are more to the right, more to the left, pro-Arab, anti-Arab. It's like more, we want to replace Bibi, so vote for us.
But doesn't it make the Blue and White seem more populist and more, I don't know, if they have less scruples?
No one believes in scruples in Israeli politics at all at this point, at any parties. But the reality, look, it makes a certain amount of sense. And from when you look at it, what's going to happen? The worst, Blue and White needs to get enough votes for the whole bloc, let's put it that way. The reality is, if there are enough people at this point who may not vote, they could because they just won't vote for Netanyahu after he asked for immunity. How many of those people are, we don't know. Benny Begin is one of them. We know that for a fact because he was very, very public about it this past weekend. How many people like that there are, we do not know. But if there are enough people like that, and they're looking for a home, and they want to vote for someone who's not going to support immunity for Bibi, so the reality is that Blue and White, by saying, okay, we're not going to join with the joint list, so it means you're not going to have Arabs in the government, like Likud was claiming, so that won't work anymore. And the Jordan Valley, well, we're thinking about it, we're not against it. So someone like Benny Begin or others like him can say, okay, I can vote for them at the moment. I have 3 Ramatkalim, 3 chiefs of staffs. None of the chiefs of staffs are known to be particularly wild leftists. So, you know what?
Should the public really be pressing Blue and White to say definitively one way or the other on these topics? Because it's we might not.
This election is about Netanyahu.
But it is working against them. I mean, the fact that they try to bring the Arab Party on board, which is considered to be very extremist, very anti-Zionist, anti-Israeli,
but it hasn't worked against them.
It
hasn't worked against them at the moment. We'll see what happens. The reality is, look, they need to get Likud voters who don't want to vote for Netanyahu because of the indictments. They need to get them to vote for them as opposed to the new right party. That's their whole game right now.
All right, well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have in the elections arena today. I'd like to thank our guests, Mark Shulman and Lital Shemesh, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, all of you out there, for tuning in at home. Also, for more news from ILTV, please follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next time.